sewing eyes, noses, or blush on your amigurumi, do this instead. Today, I wanted to share this easy trick I recently shared on Instagram and which many found useful. Try it to add blush, noses, and even eyes on your amigurumi without having to sew. I used it here for the blush and nose of my reindeer. I have a free pattern for this, by the way. I'll put the link in the top right corner. I especially like this method when working on blanket yarns because they can get damaged if you're fixing your sewn work multiple times. Plus, your hard work tends to sink inside the yarn. Okay, let's get into it. You'll need a strand of yarn, and you'll form a circle and wrap your yarn inside the circle a couple times. I did 6, but you can do more or less depending on the size you want. And I'm using a sport weight mercerized cotton yarn here. Then you'll gently pull both ends until a knot forms in the middle. You can use your fingers to make the knot more round or even oval, depending on how much force you use. You could even leave it as it is if you want a more elongated shape for a nose or blush. Find where you want your knot to go and make sure you have a gap of at least 1 stitch. This is so your knot doesn't go inside the amigurumi when you secure it later. I'm using a blunt needle here because of the yarn I'm working with on this panda. But if you're working with other types of yarns, you can use a pointed needle and go through the actual fiber rather than just the space between stitches. Pull the end, trying to avoid pulling the knot into the amigurumi. Now you'll weave the other end through the opposite side of the stitch. When you come out with this end, you want to come out through the exact space you came out from with the first end. And I'll show you why this is important in a second. Adjust your knot where you want it to be. Now you'll take both ends and tie a knot. And you want to do this 2 times to make sure it's secure. Watch as you do this that you don't pull the knot tighter than you want it to be. Now you'll take both ends and weave them back in through the same hole you brought them out from. Weave them out the opposite side of your amigurumi and cut your yarn. If you can still see the ends in your work, take your blunt needle and use it to pull the stitches up and move the colored ends further inside like I'm doing here. And you're done. Like I said at the start, you can use this for the blush and the noses of your amigurumi. You could even use them for the eyes if your amigurumi is small enough or if you're going for a small eye look. I initially came up with this idea when I was designing my Lunette the clown doll because I didn't want to glue a pom-pom or crochet a nose for her. One knot wasn't big enough, so I started wrapping my yarn multiple times in the circle to make it bigger. I experimented with different yarn weights too. For this doll, I used a worsted weight cotton yarn, but for the potato animals, I used a sport weight mercerized cotton yarn. Because the fiber of the worsted weight yarn is not as tightly wound, it gives the nose more texture than the mercerized one. You could even try using blanket yarns for noses. I'll show you what that looks like with this super bulky yarn. But experiment with different weights and fibers. I have recently found that sport weight velvet yarns are lovely for a soft look on smaller amigurumi. If you sell plushies and want to cut down on costs or make them safer for kids, this method is a great substitute for eyes. As you can see, this gives us a more fuzzy result, and placed side by side with the yarn we used for the blush, you can see it's much bigger. If you want noses that are more fuzzy, you could use this. Remember, you can adjust the size by how many times you wrap your yarn into the circle. I hope that you found this video useful, and if you did, please leave a like down below. Also, let me know in the comments, is this something that you're going to do with your future amigurumi projects? I hope that you'll give it a try. Till next time! Now, where's my crochet hook?